Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So, 2022 is coming to a close. It was a very interesting year in the world of politics, disappointing to many given the results of the midterms and just basically a lot of other political and social metrics that we witnessed this year. We watched as our leaders did nothing at the hands of an unprecedented border crisis that saw over 2.5 million illegal aliens pour into our country. Our leaders on both sides shipped billions of dollars to secure Ukraine's border while doing nothing to secure our own. You saw inflation rise and skyrocket. You saw gas prices go through the roof, which impacted tens of millions of Americans nationwide. And in turn, you saw Biden open up the emergency reserves just to limit his midterm losses, or at least that's what we thought at the time. We saw crime go up significantly. And I guess the one silver lining was the fact that Roe v. Wade did indeed get overturned. That was a big victory for the right wing, a massive victory that we haven't seen the magnitude of in quite some time. But still, Biden's administration was a train wreck. His approval rating still hovers around 40%, and the approval rating of his Democratic-controlled Congress is much lower. So one would think and expect that because this is a midterm year that Republicans would sweep the board in all the toss-up races, just the way that the Dems did in 2018, except for Florida, of course, which is no longer a toss-up state, and this midterm actually confirmed that. But not even close. Republicans dropped the ball significantly across the board, and they did retake the House, and then you have a lot of infighting now based off of who is going to be Speaker. Ideally, it's somebody more authentically conservative than Kevin McCarthy, but we'll still have to wait and see. As of right now, McCarthy probably still does end up getting in, but they still took the House. But it was by a massive underperformance compared to what a lot of people anticipated. The polls were off in the way that they're usually not off in. Nationally, they weren't, though. Republicans did manage to have an R+3 year nationally, but still, they only picked up 9, 10 House seats, and across much of Middle America, it wasn't a red wave at all. In many places, you could even say it was like a red puddle or even a blue trickle, or in the case of Michigan or Pennsylvania. The results looked basically indistinguishable from the 2018 midterms, and in fact, Gretchen Whitmer did even better. And incumbents in both parties did fairly well, which kind of does tie into the whole money argument. But still, it's important to understand how this all transpired. Definitely, we had the primaries throughout much of the year. A lot of the Republicans that were a part of the establishment got a lot of money in the primaries just so they could get by in the primaries, and that was why a lot of the resources ended up being exhausted. A lot of resources got exhausted on these primaries, and you saw the Republican donors kind of dry up come election time, as well as the fact that they were less willing to fund certain candidates, and they were more willing to send millions of dollars to places like Alaska to save Lisa Murkowski, to keep her in the Senate, instead of actually having an authentic conservative win. It's an absolute disaster. It's an absolute train wreck. The GOP establishment should be ashamed of themselves. Of course, they will deflect 100% of the blame, but we understand that there is a lot that we need to improve on, and that is mechanics, money, and messaging. Definitely mechanics is a massive problem. Republicans don't know how to play the game that they are in. We can complain all we want about election month instead of election day. I get that, but if the process exists and the opposing team, regardless of how unpopular their policies may be, if they're using that to their advantage, we need to go out there and we need to do the same thing, because I'm tired of losing, and so many people just don't manage to get it. They don't get it, and they keep losing, and they wonder why. So if you keep playing the game the way that we've been playing it since the 80s and the 90s, when maybe it worked then, but it doesn't work now, we're going to continue to lose time and time again, and we need to understand that. The same thing goes for messaging. Again, just the generic, like, economic freedom stuff from the 80s and the 90s, repeating this in the current day. This is why we lose with younger voters in particular, because we have really nothing to offer them, and this is very true. And that's another thing, messaging. It's the 3 M's. That's why they lost. Mechanics, obviously you talk about the election system, Republicans that actually played the game to win in states like California, New York, Virginia, Florida, etc. They had a red wave of epic proportions, a bigger red wave than we could really have ever imagined. But other states like Michigan, Pennsylvania, even Wisconsin, where Ron Johnson underperformed expectations, there is a lot of work to do in a lot of these places. And moving forward in 2023, we need to actually make sure that we know what we are doing, so we are going to be able to go out there and play to win, because we're not winning right now. We're not winning right now at all. In fact, the House was our consolation prize. The Senate was a train wreck. We lost a seat net, and money does play a role into that as well. We lost Pennsylvania. We were outspent in every swing race. Pennsylvania, Georgia, we were outspent 3-1. Arizona, it was like 5 to 10 to 1 or something like that. And Laxalt got outspent 2-1. And you talk about the mechanics of it again. If he got Trump's rural percentage margin, not even just the raw votes, but the rural percentages, if Republicans actually did their job and harvested in those places the way the Dems did, guess what? Then Laxalt would be in the Senate right now. But that didn't happen. They didn't do it. And as a result, the incompetent Dems of Nevada were able to hold that Senate seat. Now, it is true that the governorship was flipped, but still, there is a lot of work to do. John Fetterman is a United States Senator, or will be come January 3rd. He won convincingly. He won by 5 percentage points over somebody who dominated him in the debate. It is an utter disaster. And if this is the case, if this is the way things are going, well, you know what? There needs to be changes. No more McConnell, no more McCarthy, no more Tom Emmer, no more Ronna Romney McDaniel, and there's going to be that election coming up within the RNC pretty shortly here. And there needs to be changes, lots of changes that actually need to happen in order to win in the future. So we're on to 2023 now. And the battle that lies ahead this year is probably going to be concentrated on Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, as well as the Virginia State Senate, because if that is retaken, which it very may well be, because that's one of the states where the Republicans actually know what they're doing, then Glenn Youngkin is going to be a lot more effective as a governor over the next 2 years and is going to be able to get a lot more done, which would be a massive step in the right direction for the state of Virginia. Also, it's important to note that it is possible that Kentucky could be flipped at the governorship level. I'm not going to say it's guaranteed. It's still going to be an uphill climb because you are going up against an incumbent on an off year who is going to be well funded. And there is a lot that needs to happen in order to get it done. I think it could happen, but again, we have to change the way we play the game, especially in Kentucky, because Kentucky is a state where you do have a lot of Trump voters, a lot of very, white working class, your typical low propensity Donald Trump voter. And getting those voters to turn out is going to be important. And the mechanics of the system definitely do matter and play a role when it comes to winning Kentucky and beating an incumbent governor there. And it's not just that. Obviously, Louisiana will likely be an instant flip because it doesn't seem like Democrats have anyone. Mississippi will be a hold. Watch the primary, though. But furthermore, the real battle that lies ahead is 2024. Whether you like this or not, Ron DeSantis was arguably the biggest winner of 2022. Now, we might say that his election margin of victory was indeed inflated because of the fact that he was funded well and outspent his opponent 10-1, who was a shell of what Charlie Crist used to be, but he won by 20. And whether you want to say that it's inflated or not, that is still a mandate. And he has been effective in some way and gets positive media coverage, which is allowing him to potentially rise up as a 2024 contender. And this is very true. A lot of Trump's base that was on board from the get-go, whether you want to say the support is misguided or not, Ron DeSantis is doing fairly well. In my recent poll that I put out on this channel, which again is typically a pro-Trump channel over DeSantis, DeSantis is sitting there at around 43%. Donald Trump is only there at like in the low to mid 50s, which really shows that there's a very good chance that DeSantis decides to step in. He's being funded by a lot of the GOP donor class already to step in. They're drafting him. And also it shows that Donald Trump, there's pressure on him to potentially improve his messaging. There's pressure on him to go out there and attack the establishment effectively. We'll see if he does that come the new year, but that is going to be a big question. Is Ron DeSantis going to use his momentum from the midterms? Is he going to get things done and passed in the legislative session? And after that is over, will he actually step in the ring and run for president? If not, Donald Trump will likely become the nominee. Nobody is going to beat Donald Trump in a nominating process, even at this point, besides Ron DeSantis. So we will see what happens. But either way, Trump does have some work to do since the midterms. Don't take my word for it. Just look at some of the polls. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's over for him. And in terms of the divided party, that's definitely going to be something to watch as well. You don't want a divided party going into 2024, but still at the same time, almost 2 years is an eternity in politics, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens as we do time and time again on this channel. Speaking of this channel, by the way, I wanted to talk a little bit about my future content as well in this video, because there's going to be some changes around here. It's a new year. There's going to be some changes. I'm still going to be posting similar content to what I post, even though that content might be posted a little bit less frequently. But at the end of the day, I'm still going to be putting out different types of content as well. I'd like to do more video essays, more documentary style videos. I want to also tackle some cultural issues that have played a role in the influence of electoral politics instead of, just a hyper focus on electoral politics in 2023, because there's not really a whole lot to discuss, but we are going to be talking about the 2024 primary. I'm going to be doing more live shows as well in the process. So there's going to be a lot more content coming for you guys in the new year. So do stay tuned for that. But anyways, guys, it's been real. We're on to 2023. So anyways, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.